call the honourable member to Uraroa Flavel.
Thank you very much, tēnā koutou. Kia ora tātou katoa. Pulling myself away from very important business, Mr. Chair, I thought I'd come down and just add to the debate, a colourful debate, and just to talk in particular on this part one of this particular bill, the Biosecurity Law Reform Bill, Mr. Chair. And if members were able to have a look at this fine supplementary order paper, they'd see, sir, that there is a particular sort of drive in my supplementary order paper. The supplementary order paper, as you'll see, sir, is to provide improved levels of consultation with tangata whenua, and that's an important topic as we sit here tonight in Parliament, Mr. Chair. At the very core of that discussion is the whole notion about the tiriti o Waitangi as being at the very principle of equal partnership. And this means meaningful and effective involvement by tangata whenua at the decision-making table. Mr. Speaker, too often Māori are brought into the fray by government departments too late in the process. And more often than not, the fundamentals of the decision have pretty much been made already. And so it's largely, some might say, a box-ticking exercise at that point, which benefits no one, especially iwi Māori. The government can do better with this. Māori need to be involved when the decisions are being made, not after the decision has been reached. Mr. Speaker, experience with the Rena disaster, as we well remember, and I was up there involved in that, as were various ministers, that tells us that we must increase our capacity to both prevent and respond to incidents very quickly, those incidents which have the potential to really make serious environmental and economic damage to this country. I know from personal experience that the tangata whenua of Mōtiti, Matakana, Tauranga Moana, Pāpā Moa, all the way down to Opotiki, Whakatohea, Ngāti Awa and Te Whānau Apanui, they continue to be affected by the damage done in their tribal waters. They talk about it in trips as we go up and down the coast, in particular at Tangi that I've attended recently. Te Mona Toi Iwi Forum, sir, represents the interests of more than 16 iwi, their tribal waters, their fishery assets, and the people that were affected by tons of oil, the containers, the debris from the broken cargo ship. And sir, the impressive thing about that was that they were involved in every capacity, whether it was the shoreline cleanup, the assessment teams. They're working all up and down the east coast, identifying priority sites for oil spill response activity. The people were there, but there were many incidents, unfortunately, where mana whenua should have been involved much earlier. And even in terms of the Rena response, it took a bit of time. We got there. It took a bit of time, but we did get iwi involvement in terms of the cleanup and so on. So in January, there were considerable anxiety over the issue of Corex 9500, a serious toxic chemical to break down oil from the vessel, and of course several species of fish, including the kōkiri, the pufferfish, stingray and shark, etc. They were washing up on the island's beaches, those ones that I talked about, Mōtiti, Matakana and so on, and the people obviously had huge concerns. But it was up for the people of Mōtiti to ask the powers that be, including Maritime New Zealand and the public health authorities, to look more seriously into the concerns by getting independent experts to carry out more thorough and comprehensive tests. So the jury is out on the short-term lethal effects versus the long-term effects of the chemical on the food chain and ecology. Now, I give these examples, and of course, while that was going on, the people, the iwi of those islands, put a rahui in place to stop food gathering on Mōtiti. Now, my point is, this was getting to the crunch, Mr. Chair, who better to ask about the impacts on land and people than the people of the land in the first place, those who take up the role and the responsibilities of tangata kaitiaki. So I want to see the active involvement of tangata whenua in the protection of cultural values, to protect the native plants, animals and other resources that what we talk about as taonga ki te iwi Māori. And in order to achieve this very important goal, so Māori need to be involved in the decision making at all levels, and government need to be bold. We believe that the provisions that we've sought throughout this SOP are sufficient to be able to allow that to happen. So legislation should provide for the role of tangata. Mr. Chair.
I call the honourable member to Uraroa Flavel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just to finish off, legislation should provide for the role of tangata whenua's tangata kaitiaki when developing and implementing regional policy statements and district plans associated with biosecurity. So, sustainable success in border risk management, marine biosecurity readiness and response, pest management, compliance and enforcement all depend on at the decision-making level and decision-making, and that's where we believe Māori should be, tangata whenua should be. And I close, sir, with just perhaps a lead in this. A blueprint of how this partnership could work is actually the Ngāti Tū Wharetoa, Raukawa, Te Arawa River, Iwi, the Waikato River Act of 2010, which sees that iwi have equal representation at the decision-making and management bodies, as well as allowing for mana whenua iwi to develop their own objectives, visions, vision strategy for the river. This reflects a very strong and important treaty relationship at the regional level. So I say again that the Act and the blueprint is really the Ngāti Tū Wharetoa, Raukawa and Te Arawa River, Iwi Waikato River Act 2010. I know it's a long one, but nevertheless, that's the general intent of it, of bringing together iwi being involved at the very high end of management and involvement in terms of developing plans and management of that river. There's the starting point, and we believe it actually adds to the supplementary order paper that, well, actually acts out the supplementary order paper that I have in place. And I suppose, just to wrap it up, sir, the general gist of this SOP, as I say, is we want to ensure that there is regular and informed consultation with tangata whenua as it relates to protecting and enhancing areas and habitats that have a huge significance to Māori people. I hope that members of the House tonight will be able to give my SOP on behalf of the Māori Party some serious consideration, and look forward to the vote on that particular aspect. Thank you very much. Kia ora taupo.
I call the honourable member Sua.